Hello and welcome to another 9-minute Bible study. Our starting point, Hebrews 11, and let's start with verse 6. But without faith it is impossible to please him being God. For he that comes to God must believe that he is, and that he, God, is a rewarder of them, believer, that diligently seek him. Now, how do we please God? By faith. Now, in our last lesson, who were we learning about? Jehovah Rapha, God our healer. So when we look at the word rewarder, that means you're looking for someone to give you a reward. What type of reward are we who are sick, who have diseases, who have physical problems? What are we looking for? We're looking for a healer. The reward we are looking for is divine healing. Man, he can't do it, but God can. Now let's look at this in the point of view of healing. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that comes to God must believe that he is. This goes beyond believing that God is God. This also means that believing that God can heal you. If one does not believe that God can heal in the present day, they're not getting healed. Why? They don't know Jehovah Rapha. They do not know the God who heals. In order to be healed, we need to know God our healer, Jehovah Rapha. The last part of that verse, diligently seek him. They are diligently looking for their healing from God. So it's believing that God can heal, that they're looking to God to actually heal them. And it goes beyond just belief. We're talking about a faith that is, I know that God has healed me. Even though it hasn't happened yet in the natural, I know God has healed me. So when we start combining these two, what happens? God is a rewarder, divine healing. Follow with me. Book of John, chapter 5. Book of John, chapter 5. We're going to start with verse 1 when we get there. John chapter 5. And let's start with verse 1. After this there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market, a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, a blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. Let's look at that last one for a second. The moving of the water. Why were those people there? 1, they believed that God could heal. Let's make this clear. If they're there waiting for the moving of the water, they're there because they believe that when God sends his angel, they will be healed. And let's even be a little more clear. For them to be there day after day, month after month, year after year, means something must have been happening. Because if nothing was happening, they would have stayed home or they would have been doing something else. Something was happening. They knew that they could be healed. They knew that God could heal. The situation was this. Let's go verse 4. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. Things was happening. The only problem for the guy in verse 5, and a certain man was there, which had an infirmity 38 years. His problem was this: when the waters moved. Yes, he believed God. Yes, he believed if he can get to that water, he would be healed. when the water moved, he could not be the first one in the pool. And because he was not in the pool first, wasn't healed. What made that more disgusting for him was the fact that there probably were people being healed. He could not get to the water to be healed. But did he have faith? Yes. Did he believe that if he had an encounter with the water, he would be healed? Yes. So what do we see here? We see Jesus arriving on the scene. And let's go back a page real fast. John chapter 4. In John chapter 4, when Jesus was speaking to the woman at the well, what did he say? Verse 13. Whoso drinketh of this water shall thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him or her shall never thirst. But the water that I give him will be in him a well of water springing up to everlasting life. Verse 10. If thou knew the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked of him, he would have given thee living water. Now, here is this guy in chapter 5. He wants to be the first one in the pool. It never works out for him. So what does God do? God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. This guy at the pool, he wants his healing. What God did, he sent the living water to him. This guy could not get to the pool on his own, so God rewarded his faith by sending the living water to him. In this age of grace, God has sent his living water to us. Who is that living water? Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit that flows out of him. We're talking about a living water that is way more better than anything at the pool of Bethesda. When Jesus meets this man, Jesus asked him, wilt thou be made whole? The man, he gives this story. Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steps down before him. The first line of that. I have no man. He needed a man to get him to the water to be healed. What did God send him? A man who would get him to the living water so he would be healed. Did this man have faith? I'm going to say yes. Why? Because he's there every day. He has faith. He knows that if he had a man to get him to the living water, he would be healed. So what did God do? He sent him a man who would get him to the living water. And that's Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. We, as believers in Jesus, if we want to receive our healing, God has sent a man who has the living water. His name is Jesus. And Jesus, if we put our faith and trust in God and faith and trust in Jesus, we will receive that living water and we will be healed. And we'll pick up with this in our next lesson.